Good evening, and welcome to Believe in the Journey podcast, where I am your host, Triveda Harris. I don't have a guest for you guys tonight. The only person you're going to hear from is me. And so I just want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I'm going to talk to you about, just give you a recap of the book event that I did in celebration of my mom celebrating her 60, what would have been her 66th birthday, and what it was like to do that book signing in honor of her, releasing it on her birthday, and just the story of how I decided to write the book and in celebration and honor of her, and then to talk about what grief and trauma and healing and leaving a legacy. I don't even know if my mom believed that she left a legacy or that she had one. But before we get into any of that, we got to go to God in prayer. So let's bow our heads and go and talk to Him for just a moment. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing me in front of everyone tonight who's decided to share a little bit of their time with me, because they could be doing something else, but they chose to spend time not only with you, but with me, because if they're with me, they're with you. Let the words of my mouth fall upon the ears that need to hear, and let what I say be able to touch the hearts that need to hear. Let whatever I have experienced be a blueprint for someone else to understand that grief is a journey that is never ending, and we will get through this by leaning on each other. We thank you for everything that you have done for us, and we continue to walk in the purpose in which you have created each and every one of us. The path may not always be clear and straight and narrow, but it is filled with everything that we need to become the persons that you have created us to be. We walk with purpose, we walk with dignity, and we walk with grace, because you extend us grace beyond anything that we have ever known and that we will ever understand. Because sometimes our grace for others is not the grace that you provide for us. And so we need to learn how to decrease ourselves so that we can increase in you. And I thank you for this moment and this opportunity to be in this space. So let the words of my mouth fall upon the ears that need to hear. In your precious and holy name, Jesus, I pray. Amen. Now, as I was saying, the event was on July the 5th, and it was my mother's 66th birthday. And I wrote the book From Fractured to Fulfilled, Healing My Relationship with My Mom. And it was a really tough book to write, in the sense of bowing down to my childhood, bringing you from that to the end of her life. And going through the stages of writing the book, I went through so many different emotions and tapping into things that I had thought I had buried and didn't want to bring up, but it were necessary in my healing journey. And to be able to tell about the hard things and the tough times that my mother and I shared, because we had a tough relationship. It wasn't one that was a storybook mother daughter relationship. My mom battled addiction and domestic violence issues. So as a young kid, I experienced some of those situations with her. And so going from a little kid to going into my teenage years and into adulthood, I take you through each one of those experiences with me in this book, and the journey of being able to heal my mother and I, having those conversations before she left here, and being able to understand that my mother was once a child, My mother was once a young teen. My mother was once a person who lost her identity in trying to fit in with other people and finding that love, um, in her eyes was painful. It didn't come without pain. But in her final days, she understood that love did not have to be a painful experience. It could be one of unconditional love. It's one that she didn't have to fight for, one that she did not have to look outside of self for, that she was more than enough. And I'm grateful that we were able to heal and discuss those hard times and the reasons that she made some of the decisions that she made. Um, I will say that the event itself was an event that I did not anticipate a good turnout for. And I'll say that because most of the time when I do things, not too many people show up, because I'm not part of the it crowd. I'm usually a homebody. I stay to myself. But family and friends showed up in ways that blessed my heart. And I didn't take a lot of pictures. I didn't do much of that only because I was enjoying the moment and enjoying the space and enjoying the conversations around, um, the book, and people sharing their stories about their experience and their relationships with my mom. And so it was a beautiful experience and it was a true celebration because my mom was not one for crying or anything of that nature. So I think the tears were to a very minimal expression, because we were so focused on the moment, the joy, the laughter, because my mom was a true goofball. We had some we had another author in the building, and that was Miss Tanisha. She brought her book and was able to share and sell some of her books, and people conversed with her about her journey. But From Fractured to Fulfilled was one of the hardest books that I had to write, and especially the final two chapters. When Time Ran Out was the toughest one for me because I talked about when her time ran out, basically, in the sense of knowing that her final moments were coming. And I did not anticipate every emotion that I was going to feel in that moment. And I put it on paper in that chapter, which made that chapter one of the hardest ones for me to start and complete. And then the final chapter was acceptance and healing and understanding that we all have an expiration date. And time doesn't heal those wounds. It's basically grief is basically love that doesn't have a place to go anymore. So you love your loved one unconditionally, even though they're no longer here. They can't feel you. You can't hear them. They can't hear you. You can't get that embrace from them, those hugs, those kisses, or anything like that. And excuse me, the journey and the grieving process is a journey that no one in this life is exempt from, because we're all going to have to deal with a level of grief. And it's not just due to death of a loved one, a child, a friend. We grieve things like our a loss of a job, a loss of a car, a loss of a friendship. We grieve these things, and I don't think we talk about that part of grief enough. Um, if you don't deal with the grief, like whatever it is that you may be going through and trying to um, avoid, you're going to have to deal with the grief, because grief will wait for you in the most unopportune moment for you to deal with it. You can try to keep your mind busy, you can keep your body busy, you can keep all of that on go all the time. But when grief is ready for you to deal with it, you're going to deal with it. You're not going to be able to escape with without dealing with it. It's just one of those things that you're going to have to face, because we all have to deal with grief, and it is a moment by moment adjustment. It's one of those things where people say, the old cliche saying is, time heals all wounds. Well, I disagree, because losing my mom was not easy. It hasn't been an easy journey. And I realized that I did not start my grieving process until these last couple of months, because when my mom passed away, I didn't have time to sit and think about what I was feeling in that moment, simply because when she passed, when she took her final breath, I was in the room with her and the nurses and everyone. Hey, ladies. And I had to make the arrangements. I had to make the phone calls. I had to call my aunt. I had to call my brother. I had to call my sister. I had to call my siblings. And I had to call the funeral home. I had to do all of those things. So it was not a moment of rest in that. So I had to focus on everyone else and making sure that things got done. And even still, after, we had our service and all of that, I went straight back to work. So I did not take the time that was necessary, that I needed to acknowledge the fact that my mother had passed. I didn't take that time, even though basically like a week later, I ended up in the hospital. And I went to work. And while at work, my body began to shut down on me, because I did not process what had happened. I just went back to my everyday life, which was work, taking care of home, taking care of everything that was necessary for my everyday life. And so I did not realize until I completed this book that my journey, my grieving process had not begun until I completed this book. And I will be honest with you guys, after the event, I was exhausted, to say the least, because I prepared all of the food and everything. And yes, my family was there. I had a great support system when it came to making sure that the event happened and it went without, any hiccups or anything like that. But I was truly, truly exhausted. But in the days after, I was so numb to everything that had transpired. My body was responding to a healing that I did not know was possible to exist in this situation. Um, and we store death is a traumatic situation, no matter how you want to look at it, but death is traumatic, and it's stored in our bodies, and it's stored in our shoulders, our neck. You may feel like you got a tension headache, you got tension in your neck, your shoulders, your back, and places of that, and like that. And so you don't understand that you're dealing with these things, and it is stored in your body. And so when you are finally giving yourself permission to deal with that, I felt so heavy, but then I started to relax, and my body didn't know how to handle that. Didi, you said your adoptive mom has been gone for since 1999, and it's definitely, yeah, it's a second by second, a moment by moment, day by day situation to where you just don't know. And it could be something like you could be driving in the car and a song may come on the radio, or you may be in your house cleaning and you'll have a scent or something that reminds you of that person. And I've always heard this old saying, and I don't know how true it is, but I do know that there are moments when um, you may have a smell that comes up and it reminds you of a loved one that's passed on. And from what I've heard, I can't say that it's true, but that person or that spirit is around you, because I do believe that we are all energy beings, and we have a spirit that's either left here, and um we just gonna leave that at that, because y'all gonna start thinking I'm really crazy, but I'm not. But that is what I believe. um but you can store that trauma, that grief in your body, and if you don't allow yourself the opportunity and the space to say that you're not okay when you're having a bad day, give yourself permission to feel what it is that you're feeling. That's one thing that I had to learn about my healing journey, and is that give myself permission to feel what it is that I'm feeling. And it's not wrong for me to feel what I'm feeling, because keeping that stuff bottled up inside, it creates health issues for you when you don't release it. And if you don't have someone that you can talk to, make sure that you seek out professional help so that you can get that help and that you can find someone to listen. I'm always available to listen to anybody if they're having an issue, a moment where they just need a shoulder to cry on. Because I know what that feels like, not being able to release the emotions that you got trapped in. You have to be able to have an outlet. You have to be able to have a support system and be okay with saying that you're not okay, and give yourself permission to feel the emotion that you're feeling, because we walk around sometimes in this society, in this world right now, people would rather see you sad and broken than to extend a hand to help you through what it is that you're going through, because they feel like it's funny to laugh at your pain. But they don't realize that the pain that you may be feeling today is the pain that they may feel tomorrow. So you got to be able to understand that everyone deserves empathy. We all deserve grace, and God extends us grace every single day, because we are not perfect. We are walking on this earth trying to walk in the footsteps that this man left for us. And I just want to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do when someone is hurting. I don't want to mock them. I don't want to make them feel that they're less than for going through something that I may experience later on in life. Because, as my aunt used to say all the time, just keep living. It may not be your situation today, but it could very well be your situation tomorrow. We're all going to face our expiration date. The problem is, we don't know when that date is, and our families are left with those memories of us. So you know what your date of birth is. You know exactly the day that you were born, down to the time sometimes that you were born. And you won't know that date that you are no longer on this earth. So, what you do in that time between your date of birth and your date of destiny, I'll call it that. I won't say date of death, but you know what I'm saying. But what you do in that time, you want to make sure that when it is your time and you're up at those pearly gates and meeting God, you want him to say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." You want him to say that about you. So you want to make sure that you're living in a way that he can be proud of you. Grief is hard. We don't talk about death, even though it's part of the life cycle. We don't talk about what it takes to heal. We don't talk about these things enough. We want to talk about accountability without actually being accountable. But in order for you to get through those traumatic experiences, you got to start with healing first, which means you have to acknowledge the things that hurt you, which is why this book was so important for me to write, because my mother and I were able to talk about the things that broke each one of us. My mother was holding on to pain and things that I didn't even know that she was holding on to. And some of those things did not have anything to do with me. And I had to be okay with knowing that I didn't cause her pain, but she in turn did cause me some pain through the things that she had been through in life, and me being able to forgive her and to tell her that she was forgiven and to let her know that she was not blamed for the things that, as I got older, I was able to acknowledge for myself and understand that the circumstances in which she was brought up led to her making some of those decisions, and being able to forgive her and saying that she was forgiven was important. um Healing is necessary. It's a part of life that you can't keep saying this is just how I am as an excuse to be a bad person, or this is just how I was raised. Either take me as I am or leave me alone. And then when the person decides to leave you alone, you mad because they made the choice to leave you alone. But you gave them the opportunity to leave you alone because you refuse to grow. But this is the thing: you will grow and change to get a job, to learn a new skill, to start a business, to do all of these things. You will do all that is necessary. But when it comes to having a healthy mind and body, you won't make those changes. And that's one thing that I don't understand, is that you will do all of that work, but when it comes to actually being accountable for how you treat people and how you do certain things, you would rather stick with saying, this is just how I am. Take me as I am. And if you can't love me as I am, then you're not for me. We all got to change. You're not the same size you was when you were 2 years old. So you're going to change, because that is evolution. That's what happens. But if you don't acknowledge that you too are broken, you too need work, you too need to hold yourself accountable, be able to say, I did something wrong. And this is how I know that the journey that I've been on, and as far as my healing journey is concerned, is that I'm okay with being the villain in somebody's story. And the other thing is, I'm going to, if you want to tell a story about me, trust and believe, I'm going to tell both sides of the story, even the side of the story that makes me look bad. I'm okay with that. And the reason I'm okay with that is because it is the experience that I had. And yes, your actions may have done something or caused me to respond a certain way, but I'm still responsible on how I responded. What I said or what I did, it's all up to me. Now, am I proud of all the things that I've said and I've done? No, absolutely not. But were they necessary? Yes, they were necessary. And the reason they were necessary, because they taught me things about myself. It also let me know that I don't have to be a pushover. I don't have to agree with everything to get along with people. I can actually disagree with you and do it in a way that doesn't cause either one of us to be wrong. Like, you can have your opinion, but there's a way for you to express yourself without being evil to somebody. You can say, I disagree, and point out the points in which you disagree with that person. But you don't have to belittle them. You don't have to call them names. You don't have to do any of those things. Learn how to effectively communicate with people. And I think you also have to be able to listen. A lot of times we don't like to listen. We like to listen to respond, but not listen to hear. And those are two different things. So if you want to listen to simply respond, that's okay. But also know that the louder you speak, the less people listen, because you ain't got to be loud to get your point across. And sometimes that person that's being the loudest is always, 9 times out of 10, they wrong, because they feel like I can yell and that's going to get my point across. I have learned that you can yell at me all you want to, and the face you gonna get is this one. I'll wait till you're done. Cause number one, there's no reason for you to holler at me if you want me to hear you. There's absolutely no reason for you to do that. We can talk, and we can talk clear. If you feel like you need to yell and scream, let me know ahead of time so that we can actually be on one accord, so that we can each hear each other, but don't interrupt the other person as they're speaking. And that is one thing that I've had to learn. I'm good at expressing myself through writing, because that's the way that I have learned to express myself. But as I've gotten older, and people that I've come in contact with have taught me that they do value what I have to say. And I can actually verbalize what I need to say. And that's a new space for me. I will say that. Even doing this right now is a new space for me, because I don't have a guest that I'm interacting with. But I needed you guys to understand that this is a journey that I am on. And this journey is putting myself out in front and knowing that my healing is ongoing. My grief is ongoing. Um, I miss my mother every single day, but I am enjoying things that I didn't have as a child. I'm a grandmother now, and my kids are very clingy and touchy and everything. And I heard something the other day that says that if your children are clingy to you, um, that is because you were the mother that you needed. And that's a good thing. And my granddaughter is clingy to me as well. And my grandson, when he's in my space, he's clingy with me also. And he just gets in my arms and goes to sleep. It's like he can't fight it. I don't know what it is, but if he gets in my arms, he goes to sleep. Um, but my mother left a legacy of strength. She left a legacy of being your authentic self, never watering yourself down for others to like you. Either they're going to like you for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. And she left us with being very outspoken, and we're either going to say what others won't say because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Um, and I have a strong thing of not sugarcoating things for the sake of keeping the peace, because I feel like if I'm going to sugarcoat something, you're not going to fully understand your behavior. And if we can't be friends for me telling you the real, raw, unfiltered truth, because I want somebody to do that for me as well. So being able to um, say what is necessary, but being respectful is what my mom taught us. Like my mom used to say all the time that I would correct her even as a little girl when she would mispronounce words, or if she would do something or be around certain people, I would always tell her, I don't think you need to be doing that because it's not right. These people don't like you, they don't care nothing about you. I was always that person. And so I'm able to discern a lot for being in places and spaces with people. And that's another reason why y'all ain't gonna see me out in too many places, because I'm a homebody naturally. I'm a loner naturally. I can operate in spaces where there's a lot of people, but I get overwhelmed very quickly because I feel everybody's energy. And that's overwhelming to me, which is why I don't club, I don't do those types of things, because I feel everything in that space, and it's a lot. And I can't take it. So I tend to control the spaces that I'm in. Um but I don't really have too much more to talk to you guys about. This is just one of the things that I wanted to touch on, and to let you guys know that grief is a part of life, that trauma and grief go hand in hand, and that each one of us is a walking legacy. We are a walking icon. We have so much to offer this world. Never allow your light to be dimmed by anybody, because God created you as a light. And when you walk into spaces, understand that your presence has the power to shift the atmosphere. You can be knocking on the door from the outside and won't notice anything about what's happening on the inside until you're able to walk into the room. And once you walk into the room, you can feel the atmosphere as it shifts because of your presence. And so understand the power that you have, the power that you possess is important, and you are important to each and every person that you've come in contact with. God has not connected you to people that did not serve a purpose. There is a lesson in each person that you have contact with, and what they mean to you. You'll find out sometimes we tend to try to make people fit in our lives and spaces and places where they don't belong. And that's one thing that we have to be mindful of knowing when to let people go, and when to move on from certain places and people, because we're only assigned a short amount of time here on this earth. And so when we decide to not let go when God is telling us to let go, we end up paying the price overall when we don't listen to what God is saying. He's like, I told you to let that go. Understand that God is the ultimate GPS. He knows where we're supposed to be going, what we're supposed to be doing, when we're supposed to be doing it, and even how we're supposed to be doing it. But we get stubborn and we get hard headed, and we don't always listen the first time when He says let go, because we think that we know better than God. And we're wrong, because we definitely don't know more than He does. And this is something that I am learning, because I am stubborn and I am hard headed, and I stay on His main line. I get put on hold a lot too, but I do call on Him so many times throughout the day. And I know He be like, Lord, not today. I don't talk to you 12 times. Nah, go and find somebody else to talk to, because I don't want to talk to you no more today. And I'll be like, okay, look, okay, I got one more question. I'm going to leave you alone for today, and I'll be back tomorrow. But anyway, know that when you're walking with God, you are walking with purpose. Everything that you have been through was designed for your perfect plan. Whether you choose to continue to ignore Him, that's up to you. I ain't got nothing to do with that. That's between you and God. But I know as long as I am being mindful of the things that I say and the things that I do, I want to make sure that I am walking in the purpose in which He has created me. And I still want to run away from certain things that He keeps pushing me towards. And I keep trying to say, baby, God, look, I got small feet and I take baby steps. So just let me get to the steps that I need to get to. And He gonna end up pushing me in a minute. And whether I stumble or whether I fall, it's gonna be okay. But I'm gonna keep walking in the purpose in which He has called me. But understand that I am not perfect. Perfect. I fall short every single day. And I am grateful for those who are along this journey with me. I thank you for the opportunity to know you in the way that God has allowed our paths to connect. We may not speak every day, but you are valuable to me, and I am honored that I know you, that I'm connected to you, that we have connected on this path. And as we continue to grow and grow together and learn more about each other and how we can always uplift one another, because we know that there's not always going to be sunshine, there's not always going to be rainbows, but we are always going to be able to pick up the phone and reach out and give a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, words of advice, words of wisdom, words of encouragement. We all are going to need someone. We don't go through this life without needing someone. And those people who say, I came in this world by myself and I'm going to die by myself. You didn't come in this world by yourself. You came in with your mom. So that was somebody that was there. Now, your daddy may not have been there, or other family members that ain't got nothing to do with, but you were surrounded by love. And hopefully, the life that you live is when you are in those final moments that you are surrounded by the same love in which you were brought in. But know that you are a legacy. Know that you are amazing. And there is nothing that you cannot overcome in this world, because you were created for a purpose. You were created in God's image and you were perfect the day that you entered into this world. So continue to go forth and make sure that you are walking in the purpose in which God has created you. And I thank you guys for being with me tonight. And if you want to purchase the book, you can go on Amazon and get it, or you can contact me directly and get you a signed copy of the book. It comes in the hard copy. Oh, Lord, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, we'll do it like that. The hard copy and the paperback. But get the book. I promise you it is worth the read. I'm gonna read just a little. I'm gonna read the back, and this will tell you what the story is about, what this book is about. And it says, I spent years longing for a love I thought I'd never receive. What I didn't know was that healing doesn't always start with her, it starts with me. From birth to her passing in 2023, my relationship with my mother was layered with silence, hurt, and unspoken truth. Healing the mother wound is my raw and honest journey through emotional abandonment, childhood trauma, straying from communication, and the slow process of forgiveness. Through pain, breakthroughs, and reflection, I discovered that healing wasn't about changing the past, it was about freeing myself from it. This is not just my story, but the story of every daughter who's ever craved connection with the woman who gave her life. If you struggle to love or to be loved by your mother, this memoir will meet you where you are and guide you towards peace and understanding wholeness. So, thank you, Patrice. You is smart, you is kind, and you is important. And I love you so much. y'all get the book because it will definitely offer you some guidance in understanding that when you open your heart to forgive, you're not just forgiving the wrong, and it doesn't mean that you have to excuse the behavior or anything like that. It just allows you to acknowledge that it happened and that you're on the road to healing. But if you never acknowledge it, it's like you get a cut on your leg. You just cover it up with a band-aid and it never heals because it never gets air. You need the air to help the wound to actually close and heal. But if you never take the bandage off, you're going to have an open wound. Allow your wounds to be healed and allow yourself to be whole because you need to be whole. The very existence of you depends upon how much you want to allow yourself to be healed. And understand that every experience that you've gone through in life, it may be hot topic or hot tea to somebody else, but baby, you are here to live through it and to be a blueprint for somebody else because somebody else is trying to figure out the very situation that you lived through, and you are the voice for that person. So nothing that you have been through you should ever be ashamed of, because if God brought you to it, there's a reason and there's a purpose for it. So continue to shine bright, never let anybody dim your light, and always remember that God is God all by himself. He don't need nothing from us. So stay out of his business, okay? And be obedient to everything he's called you to do. And I will see you guys on Thursday, August the 28th. And I will be talking to Denisha Harper. So I love you guys and I thank you for tuning in tonight. Good night.